So now we have all the initial plumbing set in. That was probably the longest part of the project. I have slipped this 3/16 inch plastic tubing onto the end of the barb, and now we're going to run this around the edge of the enclosure to where the rabbits are, and this will allow for some expansion later as we bring rabbit cages also over to this part of the enclosure. What we have here are the metal standoffs for the plastic tubing. If you haven't kept rabbits before, they will chew through PVC, plastic, wood, whatever the case is. In fact, you'll see some of these little bottles that we have been using, and one of them wasn't standing far enough away off the cage, and a rabbit actually found a little piece it could chew on. So we need to use these metal clips to keep the plastic away. The clips look just like this. A little bit in the middle there to hold the tubing, and then the clips on the end to attach to the cage. It just holds tension by spring. So if your gap is for some reason a little bigger than that, you can spread it out a little and get a little more tension in it. So the wire is coming off from the left, or the tubing rather is off from the left, coming from the reducer, and now we've reached where the cages are. Now here is what a drinking valve looks like. It's got the little silver tip in the middle, which will wiggle to release the diaphragm so that water can get out for the animal to drink. That's just a little brass fitting. I apologize, I can't seem to get it to focus any better than this. The clip that is used to hold this onto the cage, it goes on from the barbed side this direction, and then there is a small little indent in the metal. You can see it there, that clasps onto the edge of the drinking valve here. So that's how it gets held in place, and then just like the standoffs, it uses the spring tension to hold on to the cage. So I'm going to choose where I want these to go so that I can measure how much piping that I need and then make the cuts. Here's a close-up for you of how my drinking valves will be attached to these cages. My instinct was to actually have the clip going top to bottom. However, the 1x2 inch material that I use, it would not fit. However, it seems to be completely secure and just fine going this direction as well. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is install this T-splitter. And what it's going to do is give us the line that we need to go from the transmission down to the drinking valve. And to do that, I'm just going to take a utility knife, make a clean cut here, place the T in the line, and then make a cut of the same 3/16 inch tubing to go from the T to this barb. As you can see, I have completed the line. I have added the T to this line and brought it down to this drinking valve. And I've also continued the line across to this second cage where I've brought the tubing down where I put another drinking valve. This is how you would end a line. Your very last drinking valve in the series, you would just bring the end of the line into that. So a little tip about installing the tubing onto these barbs. If you pinch the tubing just an inch or two back and begin to push it onto the barb, it will elongate the tubing, making it easier to get the tubing onto the barb. Some of these barbs are a little pickier than others, so I would say be careful and take the old adage, measure twice, cut once into account, and make sure when you're putting that tubing on the barb that you're ready for that, because it might not be so willing to come back off. So now with all of this put into place, before we attach them to the drinking valves, it's the drinking valves that have the requirement for a low amount of PSI. So we're going to turn the system on and accomplish two things. Flush the pipe to make sure there's no debris in there to clog up the drinking valve, and also adjust the pressure regulator so that we're within the operating specs.